This video will cover how to glue your box. When the parts come off the laser cutter, they sometimes have two small flaws. One of them is the parts might have some honeycomb marks that have transferred to the laser. These come off very easily just with a damp cloth. So find those marks and where you care about them, remove them. You could also, if you prefer, just make sure that those marks are toward the inside of your box so that the outside looks good, but they're easy to remove. So go ahead and do that to all of the panels that might be of concern that have those marks. So I've done that to all of my panels so that the honeycomb marks are gone. The other flaw you may see is that in between some of the fingers you may see some extra pieces of wood that weren't quite fully cut. One way to remove those is to form the joint and then use the fingers from one part to try to pull those pieces of wood free from the other part. So I kind of close the joint and then I lift away in that kind of a motion to remove those extra pieces of wood. Try to get them all off because those will interfere with the formation of the joint. So I've removed all those extra wood pieces to clean up the fingers, and now the next task is to figure out which side you want to be inside and outside for those faces and this. So your better face, obviously you probably want to face up. Both of those are equal. This face, the burn marks through the pattern are a little more noticeable on this side than they are on that side, and so I want that to be the inside of my box, so I orient the good side down. And similarly, just go through all your pieces and decide how you want to orient it. If you have directionality, you may want that to factor into it as well. Our next step is to do a dry fit. So this is where we construct the box without any glue, and it's to make sure that it's going to assemble properly when we do use glue. So the easiest method I found is to first fold up those corners, then to fold up this one and use your hand to hold that in place, and then fold this one and that holds in place. Okay. And then you can put the lid on and check that all of the joints are able to form with no gaps or very small gaps. And look over your box to ensure that that's true. The first parts I'd actually recommend gluing are the stem to the handle, and that's because these two parts we'd like to be reasonably secure and dry together before we attach them to the lid, and that'll be last. The glue we're using is Elmer's Glue All, and it's a very good glue for this purpose because it dries clear and it has very good strength, similar to that of the wood itself. So just put a little dot on the stem and squeeze that to the handle. That was plenty of glue, more than necessary. I would push them together as the strongest joint is formed when there is the minimal gap between the pieces of wood. Then we also try to center it, the stem on the lid, and simply put that aside carefully and undisturbed. And that will dry on its own, and by the time we're ready to glue the rest. Okay. The next step is to apply glue to our finger joints, and this is the fastest way to do that. Form your joint and then simply run a light bead of glue along the joint like so, and it doesn't take much. You'll learn that if you put too much you have more squeeze out that you have to deal with later, and that's actually probably I'm being a little generous on this one. Okay, then do this one. Okay, once you have those four, the inside ones, now let's do these next joints. We have about 5 minutes to work with the glue before it is not going to make a strong joint. So we don't need to rush particularly. So just a little bead there, and another bead here. And last we need to do to this one. You can see this is a lot faster than applying it to each part individually. And the last one is this. So to form a corner, I would recommend first pushing in like so. Pull away very slightly. This will allow the glue to be kept in the joint, and then fold that one up and then push in. So similarly do for this one. Push it in tight, pull away slightly, fold up, and push in. I'm going to use this hand to hold that while I'm doing the next one. Push in, pull away slightly, fold up. And the purpose of this is to try to keep the glue inside the joint and not be forced out simply by the way that I fold up. And fold up. The last one might be a little bit harder because things have to line up just right. So just take a close look for what's preventing it from going in, and then it should be fine. Okay. You might want to give a little squeeze to help those joints become tight. We don't want any big gaps, at least, in the corners, the inside corners there. And so rubber bands are going to be our next step. So take a rubber band and stretch it around all that. And the first rubber band I recommend putting fairly near the bottom. The job of this rubber band is to join all of the side parts to the bottom. So it's to form all that one. And the next rubber band I would put is around the middle. Probably not near the top, because if it's too close to the top, it might try to collapse the top. Okay, so one near the bottom and one about halfway up is a good strategy. Then let's look inside to see how the squeeze out's doing. This one's pretty normal. A small amount of squeeze out is what you'd like to see. Look for any major gaps. See if you can close them. We'll put the lid on and we'll close them even more. Take a small piece of a paper towel and you can wipe that extra glue out. I would start with a dry towel first to wipe the bulk of the glue away. It's hardest to get in the corners. A little stick could help you there, or a pencil. And once you have the bulk of that away, you might want to take your damp cloth again and do another wipe. And that'll get any of the smearing removed. So wipe each of those corners. Okay. And the damp cloth is very handy for your hands. If you get glue on your hands, then just working with the cloth will then prevent you from getting that glue back onto your box where it will not look very well. Okay, I also recommend putting the lid on while it's still drying so that we can let those joints acclimate to each other the way they will in reality. And a few more rubber bands will help compress this way. So I'd recommend one around here and one around here. Okay, and then do one more inspection on your joints to see if there are any major gaps. There might be some small gaps, but major gaps that maybe could be closed with another strategic use of a rubber band. But this box looks fine. Okay, now we're ready for the handle and stem, and now you can see why it's convenient that we've glued that ahead of time, because now it's not quite so delicate. The wood glue will start to grab in about 5 minutes. And so I can put a little dot of glue there. Doesn't take much at all. And I've got a laser etched line to help me align it. So I'll line that up. So here I have the grain orientation of the handle different than the grain orientation of the top itself. And you can see there's a little bit of a contrast in the appearance, which to me does not look as nice. So I would recommend orienting the grain of the handle in the same direction as the lid. Once it's correct, or how you like it, then you can push down to try to squeeze a little more of that glue out. That'll make for the strongest joint when the wood is right next to the other piece of wood. And simply set that aside to dry. And that is our basic box glued up. The box should sit undisturbed probably for about 10 minutes. And at that point it's probably dry enough that you could take the rubber bands off. But if you wanted to be extra cautious, I'd probably leave them on for an hour. And the glue will be full strength overnight.